What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stochastic coming to you with a Week 6 edition of DraftKings NFL Reignmakers. Hit that like button for me. Goes a long way for me on this video. Goes a long way for you. That way you become apprised whenever great content is going live here at our little neck of the YouTube woods. My friends, it is a massive week in the NFL DraftKings Reignmakers streets. And why? Well, this is the why. This is the why. This is the way. Core contest, $250K if you have rush set cards. Now, those are available as you jump over here to the lobby. Rush set, it was $49.99. So I ended up buying my full allotment there. I ended up getting all of my packs. Did all the things. Got one rare. That was, or I got, not one rare. You get a rare in every pack. I got one elite card, Terry McLaurin. Probably going to try to unload that one, mainly because elite, it doesn't matter if it's rare, core, anything. If you have cards from the rush set, they are viable, playable over in this 100K contest. So like, I don't know, fire it up. Right now, there's only 12,000. I've already built out some lineups. If you jump over here, great stuff in the UFC Reignmaker streets as well. So I've got some of those down here. Yay, we got some lineups for those. But I built out some core contests for this 100K to first special. Talked about a couple. I'm going to talk about some of my strategies here. We'll see if Laporta actually ends up playing. But you might as well fire it up here because there are some teams like this one that, you know, if you can get down from the rares to the cores, it doesn't matter if it's core, rare, elite. If it's in the rush set, you have the capability of playing it in this 100K to first contest. So some massive money going around the industry. Where's my favorite lineup? This is my favorite lineup. We'll talk through the ins and outs of this one, that's for sure. And then I will give you, per usual, my favorite plays, my favorite buys here with the help of Stochastic projections. I should probably pull those up here too while we're at it. If you go to the Stochastic YouTube page, you've got NFL. We can go down. There's so many different spots for this, but premium data, you can go projections, DraftKings, Reignmakers, NFL projections. Now, this is basically going to give you point per dollar, how much a player is going for. And we're able to sort it out. And they have everything listed, every edition, every single part of which set it is a part of. So great stuff by our team, our dev team, putting this together. But the DraftKings Reignmakers NFL projections, this is a great companion piece as you are looking in the marketplace for some of these rush set cards. And that's kind of what I primarily want to focus in on, is what their cost is in this contest. Because if you're jumping in Reignmakers for this week, by the way, get your free pack down below. Get yourself some access to the rush set because the up top, like the upside, it's just ridiculous compared to other contests. I'm still going to play my single entry stuff, focus on using my best cards in that, like I always do. But I kind of showed that. I showed my hand a little bit there ahead of time, and that's okay by me. That's okay. Somebody wants to jump in and enjoy splitting this money with me. Or I guess because of Reignmakers, the serial number, that actually comes into play. I guess you could just build out a better serial number than me. I love cereal. Captain Crunch. Anyway, that's a dumb joke. Let's start here with a piece of news that dropped here Friday morning that didn't show up on Thursday. I'm a little bit confused by it. I'm actually going to take a sip of coffee as if I need coffee. But there we go. Now I got my voice back. Nick Sirianni said Jalen Carter got injured in practice on Wednesday. He doesn't think it'll keep him out very long. Sirianni said, we'll see about Carter's availability. Does that matter? Yeah, because Jalen Carter, not listed on the injury spot here in PFF grading, not PFF grading, in the injury report here on PFF. But if we go to PFF grading, sorry, I was looking ahead a little bit. Jalen Carter's been the best defensive interior lineman in the NFL this season. And if you watch games, you know it to be true. You know it to be true. The guy's an absolute monster. Why is my hat sitting weirdly on my head? Getting douche chills. Anyway, we've got Carter here first out of 115 qualifying linemen. And, well, why are we talking about defense, Eric? Well, because I'm going to go from cheap to expensive. I want to mix it up here this week. And I think Zach Wilson is a buy against Philadelphia, which sounds insane. But if there is a chance that Jalen Carter is going to be out here, we just saw back-to-back games of competence from Zach Wilson. Back-to-back games of somewhat, in some way, shape, or form, intelligence. And if you look at the opportunity cost of quarterback, with Anthony Richardson off the board here, becoming Gardner Minshew. By the way, I do have my Gardner Minshews. He's up to $15 now. Holy crap. bought some when, well, I mean, you want to always be reacting, but if you go back here to, where is it? So I have Zach Wilson. See, I'm not lying to you. Where is, oh, they're not in the rush set. That's what it was. I have the rush in the rare that I ended up getting. 100K to first, yeah. But Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, going to game stack that one up. And then I'll talk to you why I have Alan Lazard and Greg Zuerlein, because I do not plan on playing Alan Lazard or Greg Zuerlein if everything goes the way that I want it to here in this contest. Ooh, little foreshadowing. But on the cheap end, Zach Wilson, if you're going to have Carter out, that creates an awesome opportunity, I believe, for the old Wilson. $3.18 to get in on the rush of Garrett Wilson. Like, you want that in your life. I'm going to have that alongside Mr. Electric Boogie Woogie Woogie runner himself, Breece Hall. $8.98. I already have my Breece Halls. You probably saw them as we were scrolling through some of the lineups I've already built. But Breece Hall, great piece. We'll talk about this one too, because I am a psychopath. But yeah, I'm feeling rather good about getting to, I can't even make Gardner Minshew the low end, considering the rush is $15 there for him. It's Zach Wilson for me. I know it sounds nuts because Philadelphia on the season, pretty darn good defense. And it's not just Carter. You got Sweat, you've got Reddick. But I'm telling you, this has been a problem. And these two have been a problem. This Philadelphia cornerback situation it's not dire. They're 5-0. I'm not going to go completely nuts with it. Blankenship out there roaming, still playing pretty good. We're combing the desert. Spaceballs for anyone who cares. But we are looking at some allotment, some absolute passing game volume going the way of Philadelphia, because you can definitely exploit this secondary in its current iteration. And if they lose their number one pass rusher for Sunday, again, it doesn't sound like he's going to be out very long. We'll see about Carter's availability on Sunday. Injury report will be out late afternoon. Cool. Again, don't understand how this didn't come out on Thursday. It came out Friday morning here as I'm recording. And that made it an auto by Zach Wilson. I'm going to play Garrett Wilson. And, if you want my cheap wide receiver ahead of time, I'll revisit it here, of course. Here's that Terry McLaurin elite. We're trying to unload that, though. Cool. That is my mid-range play that you need to be getting at quarterback. Now, another thing that I find fascinating about this 11-game slate, why I think it's really important, it's really wide open to jump in and get into this rush set for this week specifically, is the quarterback with the most upside by far being Jalen Hurts. By far. Justin Fields has a lot of upside too, Tua Tagovailoa, but you got to use the superstar spot on him going up against a Jets defense that's been pretty stout. We can just flip it right here. Williams in the middle. He's so damn good. Got a cool picture too. Look at him. He's so happy. He's so happy. He got paid. I would be happy too. You got Mr. Sauce Gardner out in the corner. You got, Mr. Reed in this corner. DJ. Go DJ. That's my DJ. And DeAndre Swift, I find him to be an interesting buy at some of his numbers, although people are starting to recognize he might be not a bell cow. I don't know if anybody's going to be a bell cow in that offense, but like CJ Stroud, Jared Goff, Brock Purdy, Justin Fields, Tua, I see why they are more expensive. I think you get it too. Kirk Cousins, without Justin Jefferson, that's kind of a cheap mid-range buy. But Jalen Hurts, because you're using the superstar spot, I'm going to be fading him. I'm not going to be playing him. I want my superstars to be in the running back wide receiver position because, well, the distribution of scores, I mean, you would really need Jalen Hurts to go berserk in a Reignmakers situation, like 35-40, in order to feel as though this was a serviceable superstar usage, mainly because there are so many players when we get to this flex that have superstar potential here. Don't have to do it for my cards. McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill. I kind of want one of those two in almost every lineup, unless I'm doing a full-on game stack. Jamar Chase, kind of want him in a lineup. Cooper Kupp immediately back from the grave. Just saying. And you got no Puka Nakua. Doesn't have a card. Sad. But anyway, we're going to go to our mid-range quarterback, friends. And that is where we're going to Matt Stafford. $9.99 here for him. I think that this is a great opportunity to stack him up with Kupp as your superstar. But then there's also a running back that I have tons of interest in DFS because he's a bell cow. He's playing 90%, 95% of the snaps week in, week out. Yeah, Kyron Williams is insanely expensive at $31, but he's kind of worth it. Nobody can really get to him. He's got very limited amount of cards that exist out there in the world for him. I kind of prefer getting to David Montgomery if you're going to just be talking about a standalone running back, and we will because, well, him, Mostert, this being your best buy of the entire week, and I will explain why. But I am in love with getting to that combination of him and Kupp. I think it's a great usage of your superstar spot. And we've got a weird piece of news sitting there in that game where it's Marquise Brown, excuse me. $2.39 here for him. This would be an absolute auto buy. Oh, somebody already just bought that. $2.60 for Marquise Brown. If that game's going to shoot out, I think Brown can come along for the ride, put up your 20-25 plus, but very interested in piecing together that. And from the expensive standpoint, I said, Jalen Hurts going to be a fade for me. Kirk Cousins, without Justin Jefferson, I think you're still going to see a lot of passing volume from Minnesota's offense. Him, Madison, that might be an extremely contrarian one. Cam Akers continues to cut into Alexander Madison's workload, but from a pass game perspective, I do think Alexander Madison, who's been there for a couple of years, I still think that that's going to be an important part of what they're trying to do. But my expensive one is going to be Justin Fields going up against the Minnesota defense. They are so bad, it causes me pain. As a Minnesota Vikings fan, it is what it is. But we're going to go to this top bar. Where are my Minnesota Vikings? And thank you to PFF. This is a lot of fun to be able to scroll over on your site and use this as a companion piece. How do we have a 21st ranked defense? We're like one of the worst in all of the land. DJ Moore, heard of him? Pretty good. Put up like 55,000 fantasy points on that Thursday night game against the Washington Commanders. Justin Fields, we know the legs, we know the combination. If you are looking for the easiest stack to put together ever, Justin Fields, DJ Moore, that's your single. And I'm a lot more interested in singles when we're talking Reignmakers because there's only 5 spots to be going to, and it gives you some differences, some deviations from what do those doubles look like. Now, I'm saying that fully well, knowing that I have a Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase stack put together. T. Higgins is going to play. He's been practicing in full here this week. I think he'll be just fine coming off of that. I believe it was concussion that he was out, but we are going to fire that up, friends. Justin Fields, $14.46. Smash that like button for me as we head to the running back spot, which I think is phenomenal when we're talking about some different pieces. Talked about him just a second ago, but $4.40 for Alexander Madison. That's too cheap against a Chicago secondary that has been awful. So once again, very convenient to be able to flip it over to the other side. He's been awful. 45th out of 54 halfbacks. I can't believe HB is what they have listed there. It's so wild. But anyway, running back there, Cousins, you can see very noticeably that Powell is out there in the slot, that Addison is out here. But here's the problem. I think we go to a lot of 12 personnel where it ends up being Hawkinson. And this would be Oliver over here. This would be Johnny Munt over here. There are some tight ends that will be filling the gaps here. And I think that creates some extra passing game, running game lanes here for Alexander Madison. When you lose somebody as dynamic and incredible as Justin Jefferson, you don't replace him with somebody. You call different plays. You do things differently. And KJ Osborne has not been good this year. Yeah, he's been on the field all the time, and he's going to be popular for DFS purposes, but I don't have a lot of interest, especially when you look at some of his prices that have started to show up. What are we doing here? I don't need to spend $3.44 or $3.30 on KJ Osborne this week in the rush set. I just don't. If you want to try to make him a value play for DFS, for regular DFS at DraftKings, sub 4,500, 4,600, yeah, I can get behind that. Sure. But I'm not going to be putting it together there. But Alexander Madison, he's still playing the bulk of the carries. He's still there. Fire him up. Now, my favorite buy of the entire week not my favorite buy, Travis Etienne is, and we'll talk about him. But Kenneth Walker, the third, $8.50. He is my listed mid-range running back, $8.50 against Cincinnati. I know he doesn't have a crazy pass game role, and I know he hasn't nuked a slate. I know he hasn't hit 100 yet, but Cincinnati giving up the most yards on the ground of any defense in the NFL. $8.50 for a bell cow back. I know Zach Charbonnet's starting to rotate in a little bit, but he's not really getting any touches. Have you seen how many touches he's getting? He's 71 cents. I don't think we're going to go out of our way to go get a guy who, oh no, he's 65 cents. This is wild. They are changing on like immediately in some of these spots, but all of 5 opportunities in like the game script of murder. 5.1 yards per carry there. That's nifty. But anyway, friends, don't let friends buy Zach Charbonnet, but they let them buy Kenneth Walker. This is your life. $8.50. Think he's an awesome buy. And then I said it earlier, he's way cheaper than some of these other guys, but Christian McCaffrey, he is a superstar that you want. You want him in your portfolio. I have him in my portfolio. You should have him in your portfolio, but he's facing Cleveland, and you're using a superstar spot that I think should be reserved mainly for wide receivers on this slate because there are so many of them. But at the running back spot, yeah, I bought some Jonathan Taylor simply because he is so cheap right now. And eventually, I expect this backfield to flip. $4.70. Still trying to figure out if I'm going to utilize him at all this week. This is more of like a long-term buy where the guy just got paid $28.5 million guaranteed, $42 million over 3 years. That is real money for Jonathan Taylor. No idea how the Colts ended up anteing up. Oh yeah, he's good at football, although not involvement in the passing game. And Zach Moss been damn good. But it's wild to me to see Zach Moss at $13.25. What are we even doing here, people? Get off my lawn. You know who's cheaper than him? Travis Etienne. And look at this workload. Yo. 26 touches on the ground with another 4 through the air. 31 opportunities. Look at that. I can count. For Travis Etienne, number 1 on the field and in our hearts. Tank Bigsby. Not working out. Been one of the most inefficient runners in the NFL this season, getting mixed in for like, down here, down there. Again, it's hard when you come in cold off the bench for some of these guys. And you saw week 1, that gave me a little bit of pause with Travis Etienne. But then like everything that's happened since is phenomenal for Travis Etienne. You're now facing an Indy team that, yes, the linebacking core is really what you look at as the featured. They are the centerfold for this defense, but let's pull up Jacksonville here. 31st in power rank defense. Is that good? It's bad, actually, if we're going to be honest. But yeah, Leonard hasn't necessarily lived up to the billing. Franklin, the linebacking core is what they need for speed. EJ Speed, see. But I'm feeling as though this is a smash. The Lawrence Etienne combination, along with one of Ridley or Kirk. Kirk has been kind of a number 1 here. I mean, I don't really look at the cornerback matchups as anything to be all that freaking out about. Julian Blackmon out there roaming. He's roaming the desert. That's Spaceballs again. But I changed the combing to roaming. You don't care. Cool. Anyway, not even that expensive. $10.40. He was actually $12 yesterday. So I'm going to be buying some more of that. That's for sure. Love David Montgomery. Love Raheem Mostert. Just more expensive than Etienne, and I'm getting him at a discount. So pretty easy to see that, along with Kenneth Walker. Love getting there. Seeing Bijan Robinson more expensive that was a frustrating week with Tyler Algier, seeing that workload. Don't mind the Josh Jacobs play either, but looking through, let's get ourselves to wide receiver and get ourselves the heck up out of here. I'm not going to play kickers or defense, but I did talk about it earlier. Let's refresh. One of the most underutilized things I believe in the Reignmakers game is putting in cheap cards or filler cards. And if you have the stack go completely nuts, buy the cards in the afternoon. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 games. Vegas, Detroit, Arizona, and the Jets. The Jets. I have Alan Lazard in and Greg Zuerlein in. Would I play Greg Zuerlein if Minshew, Taylor, Pittman went off? The answer is no. No, I would not. Now, you play the cards that you have. It's not like I went out of my way to go get a ton of Michael Pittman or anything. He just showed up because he's probably the 20th ranked guy that we're looking at here for this week. And you look at Pittman from a point per dollar perspective here over in our $3.82. It's not so bad. 15.28 for a projection. There are lots of ways that he surpasses that. If you just rank it by projection, Josh Allen, number one, Tua. Man, we got Tua projected really nicely here, but 54 fantasy points per dollar. That's an expensive meatball. Matthew Stafford. That's why we want Matt Stafford, if we're going to be honest. Thank you, our projections. And Cooper Kupp. He got expensive quick. Good stuff. I love our projections page. Definitely check this out here. Again, you go to NFL, go to Premium Data, Projections, and NFL Reignmakers, NFL Projections. Cool. All right. Wide receivers. This is where you're going to make your hay. But anyway, $50 every day. Lazard, Greg Zuerlein, placeholders. I can then go buy whomever I want there in that afternoon session to fill in if these three go completely berserk. If they don't, if let's say they have an absolute floor game, I save myself the money that I would have had where if I had McCaffrey down here, or not, I guess that's a bad example because he starts at 10 o'clock. If I had Cooper Kupp down here, well, that would just be silly. I don't want to have Cooper Kupp in a dead lineup. I would move that around to a different lineup. So be smart. Use late swap even in the Reignmakers game. It is the most underutilized thing ever. I'm sure some people are doing it, but I'm doing it every freaking day, and you should be doing it too. All right. You can't do it in UFC because obviously it locks, and then you're done. And then fighters get scratched. Fun stuff. All right. Wide receiver. My cheapie. I'm gonna use cheapie with an asterisk, mainly because $6.68. He's a lot cheaper relative to other pieces, but there's going to be no Tank Dell. There could be no Robert Woods. We'll see what the Friday practice report looks like in a couple of hours. That should be dropping here. Houston, 2 hours from me. Yeah. Well, I mean, not 2 hours in terms of time zone. It is not 2 hours from me. But Nico Collins, $6.68. We've already had wide receiver 1, 2, 3 type weeks from him already this season. Massive volume here. Atlanta did take away a little bit of what they were trying to do with him, but with no Tank Dell and no Robert Woods, where else do you throw the football? And I understand people are going to say Marshawn Lattimore, he's going to be covering him. He's going to be roaming the desert. Spaceballs for a third time. I don't give a shit. Nico Collins is really good. 5th out of 112 in PFF grading, and Lattimore sitting out there. He's been okay, but more of a defense by committee. This Davis character is very good. Tyrann Mathieu, we saw that pick 6. That was fun stuff last week. If you had the defense in the in regular DFS, or you can do the skill set stuff where you do the Thursday through Monday over on Reignmakers. Great way to utilize your kicker and defense cards, and then maybe some other trash cards you're trying to use as placeholders. I try to have them as late as possible. And hey, if nobody goes completely nuts, you can fill in the gaps. But I am looking at Nico Collins. You look at him next to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's coming back here this week. Mike Evans, $4, kind of like him this week at $4. But my mid-range buy, Jacoby Myers, now off the injury report. That's good to see. That's good. And then Malcolm Brown, talked about him a little bit earlier. Lots of interesting pieces. DK Metcalf there, 446. Deebo Samuel, 498. Lots of ways to get different. But Nico Collins, 668. In love with the opportunity that presents itself to him here. It's going to be like him and John Mechie III. John Mechie III couldn't beat out Tank Dell or Robert Woods to get out on the field here so far. So I'm going to say Nico Collins, probably a pretty good buy to get all of the opportunity. Still a little bit undervalued as it stands right now. All right, to the mid-range we go. And that's where, again, I want to have an asterisk next to this because I think you got some more expensive pieces. Like Adam Thielen up there. I got a feeling he's been just getting targeted and peppered like crazy. But Cooper Kupp, he's still too cheap. $11.85. This is where the superstar conversation really starts. I want to be utilizing it on one of these guys. Kupp, Chase, Hill. Kupp, Chase, Hill. It is so almost impossible for me to imagine a situation where all three of them finish out below 20 fantasy points. It is very difficult. That would be an outlier situation. We have Hill projected for around 20. We've got, one of them is going to absolutely pop. I like Jamar Chase the most, but he's also the most expensive. And Cooper Kupp against Arizona, there was no holding back there. 54 snaps for Cooper Kupp. Yeah, you want that in your life. You need that in your life. Fire it up, friends. Good stuff with Cooper Kupp. And then the expensive guy, Tyreek Hill. $16.68. You want to be getting to one of these superstars in every single lineup that you're trying to build out with your best cards. Now, if you're trying to have filler, or if you want to get a game stack together, which is what I did earlier as we jump to this, here we are. I basically just threw Seattle. I tried to get different here with Lockett. And again, going for 100K with 12,000 different. I'm happy to be game stacking. I'm looking at a Josh Jacobs, Jacoby Myers, and then Goff, Reynolds, White. They're all in the late window. So if I want to turn this into Amon-Ra, I can. We'll see how Josh Jacobs and Jacoby Myers play. Gardner Minshew, Taylor Pittman, 2 late game cards. Are you seeing a trend? It's not always about, hey, I'm going to build out the best cards right away, or, put my best cards together. React to how your lineups are doing in the early window, especially when there's only 5 of them in play. Fire it all up. Be ready to rock. 100K to first here at that rush set gated special. 100K to first. Massive payout over here in the core level of the rush set. You can go get those cards on the secondary market. They were $99.99 for the rush set for the packs. Generally, they got slashed to $49.99 for this week. Awesome stuff. Was able to get those full pack allotments. Be there for those drops as they come in. I believe it was Wednesday that happened. So check out Wednesday. Get those rush sets. But get your free pack down below if you want to jump into the Reignmakers game. Really good stuff. You'll enjoy it. I absolutely enjoy it too. Alrighty, going to get myself out of here. That does it for week 6. Until next time, friends, I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck in the DraftKings NFL Reignmakers streets on Sunday.